Welcome to the Financial Times in New York. Joining me today, it's Anthony Scaramucci from SkyBridge Capital. Hello.
Stephen, thank you.
We're talking about event-driven hedge fund investing. You've allocated very strongly to this strategy in the last couple of years. Would you explain why?
Yeah, we basically moved about $4.5 billion into the strategy because what we see is a confluence of different things. Corporations need to restructure. There's several $1 trillion on the balance sheet of the S&P 500, and the regulatory rules that are embedded in the Dodd-Frank provisions, frankly, give some minority shareholder rights to these activists. Okay, so that confluence of events, we think it makes it a lot easier for these guys to get economic returns that are alpha generating. And so what we like to do is make concentrated bets in our portfolio. And so we've shifted out of our mortgage exposure and we've ramped up our event-driven, if you will, corporate activist book.
Also had a very strong fair wind from the stock market going up at the same time. Given the run-up in markets, have you reallocated the portfolio? How are you thinking about what will happen in this space going forward now?
Well, we're constructive on the markets. We're sort of thinking that the markets will have a 5 to plus 15% return, the S&P 500 this year. A lot of that has to do with the monetary policy of the United States, but we also think that there will be, at the back end of the year, some better than expected economic growth. I think we were surprised, frankly, by the slowdown in growth in the first quarter, but we do think that the market's going to be constructive. What we've tried to do is we've tried to get into places like Barry Rosenstein, Jana Partners, Dan Loeb at Third Point, guys like John Paulson. Again, all of this stuff, because we're a registered fund, is fully transparent. You can find all of our holdings on the SEC website. Those particular guys are focused on cash-rich companies that they can go talk to and hopefully have a friendly conversation with them about things that they can do to return that cash to shareholders. And so I think that we're probably in the first or second inning, not to use an American expression, but that's sort of like a third of the way to go. I'm sorry, there's 2/3 of the way to go in this trade. We're only in the early innings of this thing, early stages, and I predict that we'll have more money to allocate to these sorts of strategies in the future.
I know event-driven and activism is one of the themes at the SALT conference next week that you're organizing. Also, geopolitics are going to come up, right?
Yeah, so the whole theme about the SALT conference, I think, was made it reasonably successful. Is we sort of believe in the whole convergence that's going on in the world, and it's something that you guys write a lot about in the FT. And that says we've got one part politics and geopolitics, one part investing and where the best themes are. We're actually bringing Neil deGrasse Tyson, the astronomer, to talk about the world and its place in the universe. There's a lot of fun things going on, but I think the next most important topic will be what's going on in the Ukraine and Russia. We've got Mrs. Valerie Jarrett coming from the White House. We've got David Petraeus, who's the former CIA chief, as well as Prime Minister Tony Blair. So there'll be a lot of security discussion. Larry Summers, the former Secretary of Treasury, there to talk about monetary policy. And then, of course, we've got a president of the United States coming, and that's President Frank Underwood from the House of Cards, Kevin Spacey. So I think he'll be an interesting sidebar to the whole conversation. So it should be a lot of fun.
All right, thanks very much.
Great to see you.